This is Heath House in Staffordshire. 12 months ago, Ruth Watson came to advise the owners on the future of their stately home.
When I first came to Heath House and met the Phillips family, it quickly became apparent where the troubles lay. Jon and Flavia owned the house, but it was a huge financial burden. They didn't want to live here, and most importantly, they wanted to sell it. You've got to stop sitting on the pot and actually start pissing. What's more, they didn't trust their son, Ben, who desperately wanted to take it over, to actually run this as a business.
Because they don't think I can wipe my bottom.
I'm back at Heath House to see whether Ben has come back to live here and whether he is running the house as a business.
I get a little bit short sometimes when I'm saying, Dad, I'm doing this. Can you just back off?
Heath House is a Grade 2 listed mansion built in the Gothic style in the late 1830s. 11 years ago, John Phillips retired from the family business and was looking forward to a quiet life. But when his mother died in 2002, he and wife Flavia were forced to take on Heath House and all that it entails.
Heath House represents work in a big way. To keep it going, you don't stop. You just do not stop.
The elderly couple divide their time between the comfortable family home in Worcestershire and Heath House, 75 miles away.
We don't live here full-time because in the winter it is extremely expensive to have the heating on.
But with just one housekeeper and one gardener on site, most of the work tending the 480-acre estate, with its 22 lawns and countless rooms, falls to Jon and Flavia.
Really, by your 70s, you think, well, let the next generation take over.
The Phillips have two bachelor sons. 40-year-old Justin has no desire to take on the house, but Ben, 42, is keen to inherit. For very good reason, Jon is not convinced this is such a good idea.
Everything that the family has had has been spent in large measure on this house and keeping it going.
With this in mind, Jon and Flavia believe their only option is to sell up. It's a decision Ben thinks his parents will live to regret.
It is such an emotional wrench for my parents for all sorts of reasons that it's very difficult for people to just calm down and think clearly about this thing.
Pensions advisor Ben lives in London, where he lodges with his aunt, Anthea. She knows the commitment that her sister Flavia has made to Heath House.
Flavia didn't want this house in the first place. That was her wedding vows to Jon. I will marry you as long as I don't have anything to do with this house.
It costs £70,000 a year to run the estate, and Jon and Flavia are fearful of allowing their eldest son to take on such a burden.
Benjamin is, how would we describe Benjamin?
Cerebral.
He's cerebral and not practical. He could have good organisational abilities.
What, Benjamin?
He could have.
Struggling to keep the ancestral home going, the Phillips had no alternative but to put the house up for sale for £3.5 million.
It's increasingly difficult to balance the books. There is no capital left.
But 2 years later, it remains unsold, and the family is in real trouble. After 14 generations, is this the end of the Phillips dynasty at Heath House?
We have run out of ideas. We are lumbered with, if you like, a glorified white elephant.
Businesswoman Ruth Watson has turned around the fortunes of numerous country houses with her straight-talking, no-nonsense approach.
We just have no idea what to do. So if Ruth can produce some really workable ideas, well, fine, let's hear them.
Today, Ruth is in Staffordshire to meet Jon and Flavia. Over the next few days, she'll try and come up with a plan to make the estate pay for itself.
Bell not working, come in and shout. Okay. Hello? Everything about this house is so imposing. This hallway, I mean, is totally magnificent. This was built to really show things off.
Oh, hello.
Hello, you must be
Very
Flavia.
nice to meet you.
Very good to meet you too. Hello. John.
Hello, Ruth.
Yes,
Nice to meet
hi.
you.
How do you do? How do you do? Well, you do live in a stonking great pile here, don't you?
Yes, it's quite big.
How many bedrooms?
Do you know, Ruth, I'm sorry, I don't know.
I think that says it all.
There are miles of corridors, but I honestly don't know.
Well, you're in a position now where you think you may have to sell the house. Was that forced by anything particularly?
Well, we're not getting any younger.
And John, do you feel sad about it?
I feel very, very sad. I'm the 14th generation to live on this part of North Staffordshire and the 5th generation to own this house. So it's a lineage that is not easily forgotten about.
Could we go on the grand tour?
Certainly, come this way.
Built between 1836 and 1840, Heath House was designed to impress on every level.
I can't help but notice that this house has an abundance of furniture. Why so much?
I think by Victorian standards this could be nearly minimalist, but I agree with you, it is quite well furnished. Our sons are not married, so nothing has been handed on.
Ah, so it hasn't been sequestered by the next generation.
Not quite, not quite. Well, we live in hope.
And you don't think your two sons could carry on?
Not realistically, because there is not a salary here.
Before Ruth can draft a plan of action for Heath House, she needs to find out the true state of the family finances.
Could we just go through what efforts you've made to produce some revenue stream?
I do these weddings. We did none in 2008 because we thought the house was going to be sold. In the event we had the worst of all worlds, we had no revenue from weddings, and nor was the house sold. But in 2007, I think we did about 11 weddings. It's a bit faulty tires, but we do get there.
To make ends meet, the Phillips have also tried to get the 480-acre estate to earn its keep.
Could I just ask, how much do you get in from renting out the farmland?
About 40,000, but the farmland and the let properties. Do you
And
mean?
the let properties
Yes.
together?
Yes.
So about £40,000.
With annual running costs of £70,000 a year and no wedding income, there's a £30,000 shortfall.
Did you run your own business successfully? Was it profitable?
To be perfectly straightforward, we did run out of money at the end, which was bad news, very bad news, and that was a...
So you're kind of used to running out of money?
It has been known, yes. One's learnt the hard way that if you're losing money, you've got to do something about it.
It's very obvious that for decades the Phillips family have been running out of steam. This is why they keep coming back to the notion that this house must be sold. I think it'd be a great shame because for John particularly, it does matter to him, his ancestry and the fact that the Phillips have lived here for 14 generations.
But as Ruth receives a panic phone call from Ben, could it all be too late for Heath House?
Somebody has put in an offer.
So is he seriously considering it?
He's got Mum yelling in his ear, it's an offer, it's an offer.
Heath House is the ancestral home of the Phillips family, who have lived on this site in North Staffordshire for 14 generations. But with overheads of £70,000 a year, it's become a burden for current owners Jon and Flavia Phillips, and they've put the estate up for sale. Heath House was built in 1836, after Jon's ancestors demolished their modest Georgian house, which sat on the same site. An impressive staircase dominates the grand hall, but the crowning glory of the house is the 80-foot tower. The house has been a struggle to run for recent generations of Phillips, and Jon and Flavia are uncertain whether either of their sons could cope with the responsibility. Their eldest son, Ben, has come up from London especially to see Ruth. They meet at the derelict stable block, a site that's ripe for development.
Looking at the house from this angle, it's incredibly forbidding. I mean, one could almost say it's grim.
Yes, it's got a kind of ghost-like quality from this angle.
But did you ever feel in the back of your mind one day, this will all be mine?
I do remember as a 5-year-old looking up and going, wow.
As the eldest son, Ben is eager to inherit the house, but his parents aren't so keen.
Why do you think that they don't want to just say, here you are, Ben, it's yours?
That is the million-dollar question, and I haven't been able to get through to them on that one.
So if a sale went ahead without you feeling that you tried your best to do something, it would make...
I would feel cheated. I'd feel gutted, actually. What there's never been, Ruth, has been a long-term strategic plan. And we've gone...
Well, I'm very pleased to hear those words emanating from your mouth, because that's entirely what this property needs and what this property doesn't appear to have had for about 100 years.
Exactly.
So, I mean, that's...
With no long-term plan, there's little hope that Ben will become the 6th generation to reside at Heath House in its present form. To provide an overview of the situation, Jon takes Ruth up the tower. Like his ancestors, he's extremely proud of it.
Right, come along, Ruth. This is the way.
I'm nearly there.
A bit more yet. But you can think that you're getting nearer to heaven with each step.
That's definitely some solace. Gosh, that's a way up. When you come up here and you survey your property, I mean, doesn't that kind of give you the spur to carry on with this rather than sell it?
I think I have inherited, like my ancestors, an air of liking to show off. And certainly, bringing up one's guests up here, and I say I earn all that you can see, bow down and worship me, and they do, and they think it's wonderful. But I think they go down the tower saying to themselves, thank God it's not my responsibility.
Yes. and that's the truth of all these houses, and that's the whole point, is that unfortunately it's always in the hands of one family to maintain something that's actually for the national good. Anyway, this area is very exalted for the likes of me, so I'm going to go down.
False humility, Ruth.
In a bid to find solutions to the Phillips' financial problems, Ruth is on her way to Hardwick Hall, which is owned by the National Trust. It's an important historic property, which was built for the Countess of Shrewsbury in the late 1500s. The National Trust refurbished the old stable block and turned it into holiday-let properties. Ruth meets Richard Heap, assistant property manager, who shows her around.
Oh, this is really attractive, isn't it?
This is High Hazels, yes.
Very nicely done. How many rooms in here?
Sleeps 12, actually.
Oh, my gosh.
Like Heath House, Hardwick Hall is in prime tourist territory. Close to the Potteries, Peak District and birthplace of the Industrial Revolution, this part of the country attracts millions of visitors every year. It's a market the Phillips could be tapping into.
Here we are in one of the double rooms on the first floor of the house.
This is obviously quite a large unit. What would you say was the optimum size for a number of people?
Around about 6 to 8, I think, is probably optimum.
And in high season, what kind of rental could you expect?
For a sleep 6, high season, around about £1,400.
Fantastic. And of course, one of the other marvellous things is that you can actually see the big house. I mean, how much do you think that adds to the reason why people come?
I think that's a great attraction.
Having done her research, Ruth has come up with a portfolio of ideas that could generate a healthy income for Heath House.
Hello?
But first, she needs to convince Jon Phillips that the estate can be lucrative and that selling needn't be an option.
I know you have doubts about Ben inheriting, but you also feel very strongly that, you know, you are part of the Phillips line, your sons are as well, and that this house matters to you. But actually, you're the stumbling block.
The estate costs £70,000 a year to run, but Ruth is convinced that the Phillips can achieve this by getting Heath House back in business.
My solution to the problems are, first and foremost, that you take in hand the weddings in a way that you haven't done at the moment and really try and get some proper profit out of them. I think it could provide jolly good cash flow. I think this is something Ben could easily do while he still holds down his position in the city. That could produce an income of 50, 60, 70, 80,000 a year if it's done properly.
After her visit to Hardwick Hall, Ruth has also come up with a financial solution that could secure the future of Heath House for generations to come.
When it comes to a longer-term, bigger project, I think that the stable buildings would make fantastic holiday lets. I think you could be looking at 100,000 a year cash flow there as well.
This has been gone into in some considerable depth already. And my estate agents, if you like, have poured buckets of cold water on the whole concept, saying because it's going to cost a hell of a lot and you're not going to derive sufficient income to cover it, to cover the expenditure. Can I just finish,
yes,
please? The cost of turning those stables into, let's for argument's sake, say office accommodation for the moment, it has generally been said that it would not cover the costs, that it would be...
But I'm not suggesting office accommodation.
No,
I think
I know
it's a
you're not,
stupid idea, because where are you going to get people to come and, you know, carry out business here? I mean, that's madness.
OK, fine.
If the bank were to see a proper plan for this house, I think you would get some fundings from the bank, enough to do the stables.
But before considering any of Ruth's solutions, the Phillips need to resolve a crucial dilemma. Make a go of Heath House or sell up?
Normally, I ask people to do a certain amount of work before my next visit. In your case, I think the biggest thing has got to be a decision. And I think you have actually, perhaps with Justin as well, you actually have just got to sit round a table, lock yourselves in, and work out what you're going to do.
Yes, quite fine. Yes, I mean, there's no argument.
I'm sorry it's not music to your ears, John.
Well,
but, you know,
well, I've battled all my life. And after a while, you get...
You lose steam.
Well, you just, for God's sake, let's have a bit of peace.
If I give you no other piece of advice, it's that you've got to stop sitting on the pot and actually start pissing.
What a graphic description. Fine. It was good. It is like having a good internal flush out, and you feel better for it.
I think it could be tremendously exciting and very liberating, and might be the making of me.
It is an opportunity to let Benjamin start to fly.
I could be the hero that Heath House needs.
Providing that we don't get a really good offer.
4 weeks later, Ben calls Ruth with a worrying development.
Hello, Ruth.
Hi, how are you?
I had a phone call from my dad Tuesday night. Somebody has put in an offer
Right.
on the property for
2 million?
Yes, which is 40% below the asking price.
So is he seriously considering it?
He's got Mum yelling in his ear, it's an offer, it's an offer.
Ruth wants Ben to tackle this head-on and suggests he calls a family meeting.
I mean, the major thing is, Ben, if I say nothing else, is don't let John bully you.
No, you know, I'm going into this full guns blazing tomorrow.
I really think you should be trying to resist it. Good luck, Ben. Good luck.
All right.
The next day, Ben and his brother Justin head to their parents' home in Worcestershire to decide whether to give Ruth's plan a go or sell Heath House at a vastly reduced price.
I mean, Dad, this particular offer that's on the table at the moment, where are we with it?
I don't think as yet we know enough to know whether to give any positive answer. I don't think we could say I'm procrastinating, but that is nonetheless the fact.
To be honest, I think that this whole business of keeping on the market just distracts us from what we're trying to do, which is to create a business. One feels we owe more to the place than just selling it for a song.
We've got to cross the threshold and do these events, because we get, frankly, derisory offers in from time to time, and they are not, when they're scrutinised, they're not worth the paper they're written on. We'd achieve more in 2 years by doing this than we would by twiddling our thumbs away from
this whole thing is going to take a long time.
The days of talking, we've had 7 years of it, and it's got to stop.
With an offer still on the table, the family remains divided. Justin and Ben are keen to keep Heath House and make it commercial, but, aware of the family's past financial struggles, Jon and Flavia feel it more prudent to sell. Nearly 3 months have passed since Ruth's last visit. She's convinced the family don't need to sell the estate and that they can make it commercial. The recent offer on the house has fallen through, so Ruth thinks this could be the opportunity Ben needs to prove himself capable of running a business at Heath House. As a short-term solution to the financial problems, Ruth has arranged for Ben to meet with entrepreneurs Mark Chichester-Clark and Charlie Hurt, who run Stately Home Vacations, which is aimed at the high-end tourist market.
Absolutely great, yeah. What I thought we'd do, actually, properly later on this evening is, if the weather holds, then we'll have drinks out here on the terrace, if that's all right. Is that okay?
Stately Home Vacations have persuaded some of England's finest country houses to open their doors to paying guests, each property hand-picked by Mark and Charlie.
And obviously the big attraction is the view.
Lovely views.
During the summer as well.
Just the sort of thing we're after, actually, isn't it? Just...
And your bathroom is en suite through there.
It's a lucrative business. Parties of 10 will pay up to £1,500 for bed, breakfast and dinner with the gentry. Tonight, Ben is to host an overnight stay and a dinner party for 12. It's up to him to prove that he and Heath House are worthy of a place on the Stately Home Vacations books. Ruth is keen for Ben to prove that he can run Heath House successfully, but she suspects that Jon still has concerns.
He's impractical, and you do need practicality with Heath House. On the other hand, he's much more cerebral than I am.
You would prefer it if he did stand up to you and
Yes,
did...
yes, of course. My mother always used to say that I sort of bullied Benjamin or something. I haven't consciously done so. Well, it's been the last thing I wanted to do. My only concern is for Benjamin himself. But he has always sort of felt that Heath House would be where he could really blossom.
You seem to now be willing to have Ben give this a go.
I don't think he could live with himself if he didn't give it a go. I think that is what it amounts to.
I think it's really good that you have come round to this. It allows both of you to move on, because Benjamin can never hold it against you that you didn't give him a go.
Yes, absolutely. Ruth, you're a brick. I like you a lot.
With a green light from his father, the future of Heath House is now in Ben's hands. But is he fully equipped for the challenges that lie ahead?
His table's laid.
Whoa, no.
Who's opening the champagne?
Whoa.
Have you ever held a party before?
This is the sort of thing that happens, I suppose.
Heath House in North Staffordshire has been owned by the Phillips family for 14 generations. But with spiralling running costs, Jon and Flavia are considering selling up. Ruth Watson has encouraged Ben Phillips that the house can be run as a business, and this evening he's hosting his first commercial event.
That's great.
12 overnight guests will arrive shortly. Stately Home Vacations' Dawn Rudd helps Ben as the last-minute touches are made. Most of the guests have arrived, and it's time for drinks on the terrace. But nothing seems to be happening. Ruth is worried.
I'm slightly concerned because all the guests should have arrived, and I don't think they all have.
Yeah.
All the other things, tables laid.
Yeah.
And wine. Who's opening the champagne?
Right.
Have you ever held a party before?
Forgive me, because I thought Dawn was coordinating it, and there's been a lack of communication as to who's doing what.
Right. Do you think you ought to be asking Dawn who is doing what?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah? We need to fill those gaps.
OK, all right. You go talk with Dawn.
Ben discusses a plan of action with the Stately Home Vacations team.
First of all, get a drink up and running, and obviously find out where the guests are.
Give them another 20 minutes.
Yeah, I mean...
You sort out drinks and...
Right. The champagne is in the fridge?
Champagne's in the fridge.
Right.
There's orange juice on the side. OK. Well, we can put the sort of a few things in motion and hopefully they might turn up.
Right.
Okay.
Should we go up through here?
Absolutely.
Ben eventually gets the champagne flowing.
I am. Let me top that glass, because the tide seems to have gone out.
But 2 guests are still missing, and dinner is due to be served in half an hour.
So are we still missing people?
We're still missing 2 guests. We've got the champagne lined up and the flutes and everything else.
Right, yeah. I think you need to talk to the cook.
Right.
Find out how they're doing, because there needs to be a point where you actually say these people aren't going to arrive.
Right, OK.
A decision has to be made.
To Mark
Ben,
now.
this is a small decision, but it's one you need to make.
Right, OK.
Eventually, the missing guests arrive,
Hi.
just in time for dinner.
Timothy and Caroline, is it?
Yes.
Hello, hi,
Yes.
Ben
Hello.
Phillips. Very
Hello.
nice to meet you.
Hello.
Hello, you too. Hello. This is Dawn. Hello, yeah, do come on in. I hope you all heard that. Yes. Dinner is now served.
As the guests savour the atmosphere, they get a chance to find out more about the family.
And as everybody says, if you're a single man living with your aunt...
It's a jolly good thing to do.
And its ancestry.
So my grandfather him, and my great-great is him. Not a very nice person, I'm told.
The whole thing feels lived in, and it isn't just a sort of big house. It's a real home.
Caption is, "This is why Mummy won't let me be king."
Horrible.
The next morning and the guests tuck into breakfast. If the Phillips hosted just 2 of these events a month, they could increase their annual turnover by £36,000. But has Ben done enough to impress the experts, Mark and Charlie?
I thought the family were fantastic hosts. They made an effort to get to know everybody, and that's incredibly important.
I think Americans would love it. We would certainly want to use it.
Heath House and Ben have made the grade, and it's prompted Jon to make a significant decision that could see Ben permanently take on the estate.
The house is coming off the market, so Benjamin does have a clear run. One must be positive that things do work out. And who knows what, even Miss Wright might turn up. Benjamin can't really get out of now being in the hot seat.
With the estate firmly off the market, Ben is determined to prove to his parents that he's up for the challenge. He aims to employ a company to run events, but today he's hosting his first wedding reception, the first at Heath House for 18 months. The pressure's on. Ruth estimates that weddings alone could rake in around £80,000 a year, enough to run the whole estate. To help out, Ben's drafted in Aunt Anthea, his London landlady.
Whoa. Whoa.
Hang on to the wall.
Yeah, thanks.
Ben must ensure that the day runs like clockwork, but already there are problems with the lighting system.
I don't know why this one doesn't work now.
No.
You said it... Did it work previously?
Yeah, when I first came out of the front door, it was on when I plugged it in. Now it's died.
All right.
You might have to reference your father.
It's not something to be undertaken too lightly, is it? Having your own marquee.
You need a screwdriver?
Yes.
Yeah. I think it's good to thrust him into the deep end, and only by mistakes will he learn. I don't mean that too pompously, but that's fact, isn't it?
Right, I will go and I'll go and get a new bulb. This is the sort of thing that happens, I suppose.
With the lighting sorted, the stage is set, and Ben is front of house.
Hello, I'm Ben. Hello, how do you do? Hello, I'm the next generation down, so...
I think I've met you before a bit, though.
Oh, I think we may have done, actually, yes.
In the garden.
Oh, wonderful. Oh, how... Your wife looks fantastic.
Ben might be running proceedings, but Jon has plenty of wisdom to hand down to his son.
Now, you could produce the odd cushion, just those sorts of little things, but I know they're bloody uncomfortable, those chairs. Now, go forth, then.
What, meet and greet?
Yes.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm Ben. I'm the son of...
Jon.
Yeah, that's right, you know. Sorry, him. They're kind of handing over the meet and greet to me now.
Must just kiss the bride. Hello.
How are
well
you?
done. Very well.
Those benches are chronically uncomfortable. Would you like a couple of cushions? Because I'm going to go and get a couple. Would that be...
No,
Are you all right?
fine. What about you?
Are you all right on that? OK, OK. In the fullness of time, you've got to find your own style, and it's easier to do that if if you haven't got the monkey on your back.
Sometimes one has to just...
You do, bite your tongue.
Bite your tongue, just
you
a
do.
little.
Don't make children.
The odd, yes.
Oh, I'm sorry, did you get soaked?
No. I think last time it was this end that came off.
When a problem with the water supply threatens to disable the portaloos, Ben's on the case. A proud Aunt Anthea looks on.
Well, it seems that though Benjamin's doing quite a good job, it's an opportunity for him, and he just needs to make a success of something to prove to his parents that he can.
The old man's so tight he won't buy any more.
With the wedding reception in full swing, Ben can at last relax and reflect on his success.
I've really enjoyed it. I was a little bit apprehensive at the beginning. I think, like all of these things, it's down to practice. And if we can get a really smooth machine up and running, there's no reason why we can't lay on a very good show every time.
But despite his promise to take the house off the market, Jon appears to be going back on his word.
I was accused of procrastinating by Ruth, and to that extent I will perhaps go on procrastinating and keep our options open. Given a really good offer, then one would be mad not to consider it.
With the wedding a success, Ben has proved he's got what it takes to run the ancestral home as a commercial concern. But convincing his parents seems to be a much harder task, as they consider another offer on the property. Four months since her last visit, Ruth is back at Heath House, where Ben greets her. In his attempt to make the house a commercial venture, he's created a family archive which will appeal to visitors. Ruth wonders if this effort has satisfied his parents' doubts.
How are we doing on this business of offers for the house?
Dad told me that there is one other person, and that if that doesn't materialise, then that we take it off the market and we concentrate on this.
Can you trust him on that?
I lost my temper with him, because we can go on like this forever.
Well, I think the only way that your parents are going to believe in you is for you to actually do something physical, you know, to say, right, I'm here, I'm coming here.
My plan is to move up here in the spring of next year.
Well, I think you need to declare that.
It is a nightmare, parents and children, and you need an intermediary because they don't think I can wipe my bottom.
Impressed with Ben's newfound confidence, Ruth calls the family, including brother Justin, to a meeting to resolve the matter once and for all.
The problem really is that, Jon, to date, Ben is not really getting the support from you because you keep looking at offers for the house. So, in effect, this actually isn't a problem about how to raise money, because I think that's really quite easy.
I don't entirely agree with you. To date, we have only got 2 bookings for next year. That is all we've got.
But the reason for that is because there's always this caveat about, is the house actually going to be in your ownership? And while that situation pertains, it's never going to go full thrust. I find it quite baffling that you wouldn't give Ben that opportunity, even if you think he's going to fail, because the jeopardy is so small in comparison with the opportunity. I mean, in the future, Justin, would you want to come and live here?
It'd be fantastic to see the place, you know, operating as a successful business. Of course it would be. In terms of the immediate plans, I mean, Benjamin is centre stage here.
If we're going to put all our eggs into Benjamin's basket, we do want to feel comfortable that Benjamin has got the necessary training and ability to handle it.
Because you don't trust that he can do it.
No,
My point
that hasn't been said.
Well, I think it's very evident, because otherwise you'd just be saying, get on with it.
We need clarity and focus here, away from the distractions of possible interested buyers, because that just makes me feel crap, to be honest. Because I think, well, am I investing in here or am I not? You know.
Nobody is answering the question that I really want to know. What is the harm in giving it a try?
There is no harm. So no, fine. Let's let Benjamin have a clear run at it.
And I think, Ben, you have got to show the gumption to do this. Could we have agreement that as long as Ben is living here, he gets till the end of 2011 to prove what he can do?
Fine, OK.
Going to hold you to it, John?
With agreement at last within the Phillips family, Ruth has one other point to make.
The only last thing that Ben's got to do, of course, is procreate somehow.
Well, I'm quite glad I haven't got that burden as well as this at the moment. Do you know what I mean?
1 year on, has John stuck to his word and kept Heath House off the market?
Well, it was never high on my list of priorities.
Oh, rubbish! Yes, it was.
No, rubbish you.
I am not going to accept that.
Ruth, be quiet, please, listen.
When Ruth Watson was last at Heath House a year ago, a big decision had been made over the future of the estate. Ben Phillips had convinced his father to allow him the opportunity to make the historic property a commercial venture. In the last 12 months, Ben has taken on the running of the estate and is dispelling his father's doubts by making a go of the events business.
As I grow into the role, Dad can see that I'm actually, you know, okay, actually, and I can stand on my own 2 feet and I can do quite a lot. But I think he's been encouraged by what I've done so far. You know, it gives me a lot of confidence as well.
As Ruth suggested, Heath House is now thriving as a wedding venue.
Andrew, hi. Welcome to Heath House. Can I put you in very...
Ben works with an events company which takes care of the intricate planning for the potential brides.
Is clear, obviously, most of the furniture out. Piano stays, and you can have somebody playing the piano.
Ben's also been promoting guided historical tours of the house. Jon and Flavia seem impressed with his efforts so far.
He has grown in confidence and competence, I think.
Now he's getting down to the nitty-gritty and having to address practical things.
And all your stripes are straight. Well done.
Pretty much.
The odd wobble.
And also the volunteers were here yesterday and they've taken down that...
Jon still keeps an eye over what Ben's doing, but recognises the benefits of handing the house to the next generation.
Well done. I think the weight on our shoulders is beginning to diminish. Don't go further than that.
Yes.
Beginning to diminish.
Heath House is somewhere that will always have a problem of one sort or another.
As I've said rather pompously in many cases, I'm the 5th generation to own this house, and certainly in my lifetime and in Benjamin's lifetime, hopefully, this is the first time the Heath House has been put to commercial use. It'll look really good.
I think so.
Well done. Aren't the autumn colours nice?
Ruth is back at Heath House, a year since she last visited the Phillips family.
Ruth, hello, lovely to see you.
And lovely to see you. All these cars.
Yes.
What are they doing?
Welcome to Heath House Historic Tour.
Well, it's terrific. You're obviously doing very well. And are you living here?
I'm living here. I've left London. I moved up at the beginning of May.
That's terrific news. So come and tell me all about it.
Yeah, come on in.
Ben left his job as a pensions advisor in the city and has made the permanent move to Heath House to concentrate on the emerging business. Ben's parents had concerns over their son's ability to make Heath House a success. Ruth wants to know if the transition was easy.
I seem to remember there was a degree of resistance from your family, to say the least. So what did they feel about you actually making the move? Were they encouraging?
Well, they were. I mean, once Dad decides on something, he gets on with it. But as you discovered, getting him to that point, that was the really difficult bit. And I think after you'd left us the previous time, that was the starting gun, actually.
I know he's an interfering old bugger, much as I love him. So is he truly leaving you to crack on with this and just giving you help and advice when you ask for it? Or is he actually still trying to rule the roost?
It's a moving relationship a little bit. I think he will leave me alone. He'd like to leave me alone as long as he's confident that business is coming in and that we've got bookings in the calendar. I get
a little bit short sometimes when I'm saying, Dad, I'm doing this, can you just back off while I finish this and then I'll get on to the next thing.
And it's not going to work against you in as much as the better you make the house, the more vibrant, the more people are here, the more he's going to actually wish perhaps he'd done it rather than you.
I hope not. If he does, well, we shall tell him where to go because, you know, it is, you know, in the end, it is about a business. It is about generating cash. It is about doing the 101 things that we all want to do. And, you know, if we are too busy for him to come up here because we've got functions on, well, that's absolutely what it's about, you know.
Misfortune hit the family when, earlier in the year, Ben's mother Flavia fell ill. It now seems that Ben's presence at Heath House is all the more vital.
She had a stroke back in the summer.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, and that came out of the blue.
Yeah.
You know, she and Dad have been belting up and down here twice a week at least, and...
Is she all right?
She's fine now, yes, and she's making a really good recovery. So she is going to ration the number of times she comes up here.
Right. Well, it seems to me obvious that with your mother indisposed, and I'm glad to hear she's on the mend, that it makes it more necessary for you to be here, for a member of the Phillips family to be taking this forward, doesn't it?
Absolutely. I think I'm the last line of defence, as it were, and that's fine by me.
But with all the hard work, Ben's not been able to turn his attention to his private life.
What are we doing about getting a woman, a bride up here?
Oh, dear, right, OK. Day to day, during the week at the moment, I've got an awful lot on, and I've just got to bed that down.
Well, then bed somebody else down straight afterwards. I'm very conscious, Ben, that this tour is all the people are gathering, aren't they?
Yeah, we're about to kick off.
Right, and you're instrumental in this.
I am, yes.
So
Dad's going to say a few words, and then I'm kicking off.
OK.
Thanks.
Built in 1836 to 1840 by my great-great-grandfather. It was built largely to show off. I think that's the only reason why they wanted to show off. And in more recent times, it's obviously become necessary to commercialise the house. And so Benjamin has taken on the onus of running Heath House and commercialising it. And as you know, we do weddings and anything else that will perhaps make the odd bob or two.
Right, so if you'd like to follow me, we'll go off. We'll start.
Heath House is open throughout May and on bank holiday weekends. At a cost of £8.50, visitors are shown round the house by Ben, Jon, or Neil Hatfield, a Phillips family archivist.
John died, he got married late in life. He died without any children, and so the line then passed to his nephew. We always want to keep Heath House as a family home and to keep that family feel, and that's the feedback we get from visitors who come round, that it doesn't feel like a museum.
What's so remarkable is that on my last visit here, Ben was so insecure. He was trying to handle a dinner party, being very bumbling about it. But now he's in full control. This is a man who not only knows his stuff about the family history, he's so confident about it. He just feels at home, and that's exactly how it should be.
Money raised from the tours and the weddings is being put aside for restoration of other parts of the estate, such as the stable block, which is still derelict. Impressed with Ben's newfound confidence, Ruth wants to know how Jon and Flavia feel.
Hello. Hi. It's very good to see you both. And Flavia, you're looking marvellous, but I hear you haven't actually been at all well.
It was very unfortunate. I did suffer 2 strokes and a heart attack in the middle of August, which was extremely unfortunate. Touch wood, cross fingers. I hope I'm on the mend.
Yes, well, as I say, you're looking terrific. How do you feel about Ben being in charge? Do you think he's doing a good job?
Excellent. We're thrilled. Benjamin's doing very well. London was not the right place for him, and whereas here is.
Do you now feel that a burden has been lifted? Can you sleep more easily now?
Yes, I think so. Definitely, because if he wasn't here, we would still have it lock, stock and barrel, and 2 houses, and my stroke would not be a joy.
Yes, I mean, we would have been up the creek without a paddle if Benjamin wasn't here. How on earth would we cope?
Do you actually feel that you would like him to take over?
Oh, yes. We're 2 galloping horses neck and neck. I've gradually felt the mantle of Elijah going to Elisha. So, yes, in bit by bit, it happens, but not all at once. I mean, I can contribute quite a lot still and intend to do so. because I think it would be for Benjamin's benefit in the end. Far from which I'm jolly fond of Heath House, and you can't just cut it off like being married to an old girlfriend. You don't sort of, you can't cut off like that.
One of the most difficult situations Ruth faced when she first came to Heath House was convincing Jon not to sell the ancestral home. With Ben beginning to prove he can run the house commercially, has the threat of a sale finally disappeared?
Do you still have any plans for selling this house, which was, of course, high on your list of priorities, Jon?
Well, it was never high on my list of priorities.
Oh, rubbish. Yes, it was.
No, rubbish you.
I am not going to accept that.
Ruth, be quiet, please. I certainly never wanted to sell the house, no. But it seemed to be the only option that was left open to us until you came brightly along and said what you said. And you said all sorts of things, didn't you? And I think that was a turning point, the fulcrum of the whole thing. And we withdrew it off the market, as you well know, and it is certainly not on the agenda to be sold now.
With Ruth's help, the future of Heath House is secured.
This is a family home, and we want to keep it a family home, and we want to develop it as a working estate.
I am pleased that Heath House was not sold. I never wanted it to be sold.
All that's left is to say goodbye.
I'm so delighted that the house is still in the Phillips family. And I really wish you well. I think you've done a fantastic job, both of you. And I just hope that Heath House stays in the Phillips family for eons to come.
I'm sure it will.